Okay. Well, I never thought I'd get to say this the way the weather's been going, but I managed to finish up chisel plowing this morning. That actually went better than I thought. That field had, when I chopped the stalks, it had a big pond of water standing in it. Figured I was gonna have to go around that, and I chisel plowed right through it. There wasn't any water standing. It was kind of nice. Shit, I was gonna bring a smaller hitch pin with me. I don't think I got one on this. I think all I got is the big one. And I don't think it fits the disc. Pretty sure this won't fit through the hitch on the disc. That definitely will not fit through the hitch. Damn it. Well, anyway, we're going to attempt to go down and disc the muck. My tractor to disc ratio should be fairly adequate enough to let me get across it all right. I might still have to go around the... Oh, that's a little ankle biter dog. Hang on. Okay, that's taken care of. Teeter, you stay home. You don't belong over there. Yeah. So might have to go around the wet spots, but I should be able to get over most of it. I'm not gonna run super deep, basically just enough to get some of the trash worked in and try to level off some of the ruts from the combine. And like I say, this thing should have no problem pulling that thing. So, but first I gotta get the cylinder put back on it. So we're gonna do that real quick. Come on. Where can I set you? I'll set you right there. That'll work. We're hooked up. I'm going to get this thing fueled up real quick. Probably eat some lunch before I go down there. Teeter figured out a new sitting spot. I figure what I'm gonna have to do for her is make a cushion that goes here and make something that kind of goes across the back of the seat so she's got enough room to lay down, and then she can probably ride in here. And that way she can see out the windows. What do you think, pup? Tank's about out. My plan was to get as much diesel run out as I could and get everything full, and then have get some fuel coming and fill all the tanks before Uncle Joe makes the fuel prices skyrocket this winter. So anyway, we're gonna put some fuel in the tractor and go get some lunch, and then I'm gonna go do some disking. So we'll catch you guys here in a little bit. Well, that was a long, slow trip. One of these things I got to do to this disc this winter, actually probably next spring before I need it. The main pin back there on the frame where it pins the tongue to the frame is slopped out. I'm gonna have to tighten that thing up. It's not as noticeable on the 1955 because on the 1955 I have a hammer strap that goes under the drawbar and holds it up tight against the cradle for tractor pulling to keep, because it gains you about 3/4 to an inch of drawbar height, because that's how much slop there is in the drawbar roller. But I don't got that on this. I'm gonna have to put one on this if I'm gonna pull this disc with it, but that pin's loose, so the disc gets to whipping, and then the disc starts whipping, and then there's enough slop in the blocks that they have for the drawbar roller right now that it starts whipping the tongue on the, or whipping the drawbar on the tractor. It got interesting. I could only run about 9 miles an hour, but hopefully I have better luck than the neighbors did, because I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Right there, if it's still there when I head back, I'll stop and get some video of it. But they got their big John Deere 2-track stuck. Actually, just by the way it looks, I think the tractor might still be on top, but it looks like they went to pick the disc up and the wheels went down and the disc didn't come up. But I think I'm a lot lighter than that, and my disc is a little more appropriate size to the tractor for the ground conditions. So hopefully we have better luck than that. So I'm gonna get unfolded and we'll see what kind of trouble we can get into. All right, they definitely tanked the hell out of that 2-track. They just pulled in down there with a 4-wheel drive to yank it out. I'm actually kind of surprised that they were disking with the 2-track, because normally they have it on a 4-wheel drive, because 2-tracks down here kind of suck. Really, tractors down here in general kind of suck. It's kind of counterintuitive, but the problem with tractors down here is once they start spinning, you can't steer. You're kind of at the mercy of wherever the hell they want to go. Anyway, I'm all folded out. I do not have the axle tied into the cylinder, so the axle will float. That way we don't have an issue with that. And then I got all my cylinder stops on, because all we want to do is level this out and get some of the stalks mixed in. We're not here to make a huge mess. every round I kept plugging the front two gangs, and every once in a while the back right gang. Well, what the problem was, and I figured the shit would have fallen out when I started using it and it started getting some vibrations through it, but from disking that bean ground to plant wheat, there was a bunch of bean stalks and mud packed in behind all the scrapers, and the muck was sticking to the bean stubble, and then it was pulling stalks in and getting them all wedged in there and locking the gangs up. And when I finally figured out what it was, I went through and beat all the mud out, got all the bean stubble out, hadn't plugged since. So we're clipping along pretty good. I'm in 4th direct, about 3/4 throttle, so probably about 6 miles an hour, which is plenty fast. A light frame disc like this, you start running too much faster, it's going to start weeble wobbling and hopping all over anyway, so. But there's no such thing as overkill on muck. In all reality, this tractor and a 16-foot disc down here is probably damn near perfect, because you can keep running along at a good clip, you got enough traction, you're not going to spin out, and if you do start to spin out, the disc is light enough, it's not going to sink, and you got enough horsepower that you can grab another gear and hammer down and get out of trouble before you get stuck. In theory, anyhow, everything's got its limits, but I'll be curious to see what happens when I get right there. That's going to be interesting. Alright, we're over going into the wet spot. I actually made 2 passes through it and I went through it okay, so. But I figured if I'm going to get stuck, I might as well do it on camera, huh? Clean the disc gang out one more time. There was a spot I missed the first time on the back one, but Well, I never figured I'd say I got that done this fall. Actually, didn't work too bad. This is really the only spot I struggled in where it's standing full of water. But she pulled through it. I half-ass got the ruts pulled shut. Can't really do much unless you hit him at an angle, and I was trying to hit him at an angle, but they'd suck the tractor in, and the tractor would just want to follow the ruts. It's like, okay, I guess we're going straight. But I was able to, up to here, I worked them at a 90-degree angle, and it pulled them shut, but I wasn't going to push my luck and go in here and make a mess. So figure with what I got pulled shut, we'll call her good for this fall, and should be able to finish it up, or finish leveling it up in the spring. At least now it's got some of the residue buried so the sun can get on it, and the ruts are mostly pulled shut so the water won't stand so bad. And I did have to leave me a lane up that side so I can get back there and clean that tree branch up. Would have been nice to do it before I came out here, but I haven't had time, and I really need to service saws before I start cutting anyway, because most of the chains are dull. So that'll probably be a project one evening next week, possibly. At least get the saw service next week. Might hold off till next weekend on that, but because that's a pretty big limb, it might as well be its own damn tree. But all in all, I'd say that worked out pretty slick. I might have actually found a harrow for the back of this thing over there where Matt was combining yesterday. He's got a 26-foot underfirth. It's like a 12.5-foot base, and whatever the hell the wings are, I don't know the exact width on, or the exact working width. Matt thought it was a 26-footer, but it's rough. It's rough. So it's a perfect candidate to cut down to put behind this. It might actually work out good because it's got, the wings are a full 4-foot basket, and then these little mini 2-foot baskets. And if it is a 12-foot base with them 2-foot baskets on the wings, this is a 12-foot base with 2-foot wings, so the harrow would match this thing perfect. But anyway, we shall see if I can get that bought for cheap. It's gonna have to be cheap, because when I say rough, I mean rough. Like, she's been over some acres. The tongue's bent. That's really the only thing wrong with the frame, but the baskets are rough. So anyhow, I guess get this thing folded up and get this back to the house. I'd like to get that back to the barn before it gets dark. So I think the other thing I want to do in the spring, when that's probably not going to happen this fall, unless, well, let's see how much rain we end up getting. It's supposed to be dry next week, but it was supposed to be dry all this week. We end up getting some rain, so we'll see what happens. But I'd really like to chisel plow that clay knob back there, because I think that it helps a lot. I had a lot better stand of corn back there than I did last year when I just disked it. So, but we shall see how either that I'll get that done yet this fall, or it's gonna have to wait till next spring. Either way, it's no big deal. But anyway, I'm gonna get this thing folded up and get everything put away before I run out of daylight. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.